Mr. Corsi, did you tell the New York Times the purpose of the book is to defeat Obama?
Well, Larry, I make that very clear in the book. The book is designed to say that I oppose the candidacy of Barack Obama, and I explain why. I've got 360 pages and nearly 700 footnotes explaining my argumentation about Obama, complete examination of his life, his positions, his background. I'm an investigative reporter with WorldNet Daily. I've had academic credentials. I've studied and worked in universities.
Did you, as a good investigative reporter, did you approach this objectively or not?
I did, but Larry, WorldNet Daily, one thing we do clearly is we also have a policy that we write editorials and state our political views as well. So I'm out front, just as I was with co-authoring Unfit for Command with John O'Neill. Here I'm saying clearly I oppose Barack Obama, and the book is designed to lay this information out and let the American public decide.
Paul, you denounced the book as unfit for publication, meaning?
Well, let's put this in some historical context, Larry. 4 years ago, Mr. Corsi co-wrote a book called Unfit for Command that was part of the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth campaign against John Kerry. Every single objective observer that looked at that came to the conclusion that it was just riddled with falsehoods and distortions and unbelievable claims. Now, 4 years later, he has come out with another book that is also riddled with distortions and falsehoods. So the question is, why on earth would anyone listen to what he has to say about Barack Obama?
All right. Go ahead.
To respond to that, well,
sure.
This is the common tactic of Media Matters and others. They broad brush, say it's discredited, it's full of falsehoods. When you get down to what they can actually prove, it's nitpicking little objections. I mean, Unfit for Command, John O'Neill and I have not had to withdraw or rescind one single sentence of that book. We continue to stand by it. And I do remind people that John Kerry lost the 2004 election.
Oh. He says he's Christian. Paul, why do you think this closet Muslim thing hangs around?
Well, Larry, partly because what Mr. Corsi is doing is of a piece with this kind of innuendo that's floating around in emails and on right-wing websites, all meant to convince people that Barack Obama isn't really one of you. But I do want to respond to a couple things he said before. He said that the people who criticize him for getting the facts wrong are nitpicking. Well, the truth is not nitpicking. Either it's true or it's false, and much of what Mr. Corsi has written is just plain false. There's something else that's important, too. He talked about how many footnotes he has and how many sources he has. Well, if you actually look at them, there are dozens and dozens of citations to right-wing websites and blogs. One of the people that he cites as a quote-unquote source is a man named Andy Martin, who is an anti-Semitic right-wing blogger who once called a judge a dirty Jew and filed so many frivolous lawsuits that he's now no longer allowed to file lawsuits. So my question to Mr. Corsi is, since you cite Andy Martin multiple times as a source, are there any other anti-Semitic right-wing bloggers that you also use as sources, or is he the only one?
This is what Media Matters does. They frame questions.
This is what we do. We look at what you wrote.
Sir, if you'd like me to answer your question, I will.
Go ahead.
If you'd like to talk, I can just sit here. The book has close to 700 footnotes in it. The footnotes are of primary sources. There must be 100 books cited in that. I did interviews. The interviews are cited. There's newspapers.
Well, respond to the question about Mr. Martin.
Well, I can remember one quip I quote from him, and it's just a quip, where he basically is saying if Obama will lie about his background and his family, he'll lie about anything.
All right, I love that in 18 different ways. Number one, he's got 700 footnotes. I don't know if you know this.
That's what I wanted to say before we even began, and I'm sorry. Let me just. When an author quotes the number of footnotes, throw the book away. It's done. You can footnote anything.
Yeah.
You could have 1 billion footnotes. You could footnote every word. You could footnote every sentence could have its own footnote. At the end of the book, you'd be like, I think I pretty much nailed it. I have 48,000 footnotes. I rest my case. It's meaningless. It doesn't matter. You can footnote anything. Jen could say, Turkey's the greatest country ever. And I'd be like, Turkey's the greatest country ever. 38. Jen Cougar, the Young Turks. Well, Jen said it. Therefore, it's true. Come on.
Let me go a little further into that. Number one, he said, I quoted books, blogs, and he talked about blogs earlier and interviews he did. So the bloggers are all right-wing bloggers. So he quoted other right-wing bloggers. My guess is the books he quoted are also written by right-wingers like himself.
Look.
Books like Unfit for Command, which are full of lies.